Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Musum.
Hey.
And Mina.
Hi.
Patreon.com/E1M1, the ones are numbers, early access, behind the scenes, all the cool, uncensored stuff for just $5 a month. There will be a brand new show airing pretty soon featuring Moonpear and myself because I have a problem and I can't stop creating content. So keep an eye out for that. That will be at the $2 tier, but the $5 tier is the recommended one. Patreon.com/E1M1. Let's get started with you, Musum. What have you been playing this past month?
So I haven't been playing a ton.
Okay.
But I've been playing two games. So the first one, played more Fire Emblem Warriors. This is just something my wife and I can play that doesn't take a lot of effort for the most part.
Right.
You know, of course, it's Fire Emblem's a Nintendo property, so obviously we're playing on Switch. And I only own one set of Joy-Cons that I desperately need to call Nintendo and get them to replace because I have all the problems. But
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about this? Because I have two sets of Joy-Cons, okay? And on both of them, the left Joy-Con,
mm-hmm.
So one of them, for some reason, is like sticking or something. It wants to move left all the time. So I always have to it
has the drifting problem.
Yeah. And then the other left Joy-Con drifts to the right. So I do this thing where I swap out the Joy-Cons, like charge and then whatever.
Right.
But I'll get used to having to adjust to the drift.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is when you have one drifting to the left and the other drifting to the right, whenever, so I keep having this problem where I'm like, gosh, here it is again. I'm drifting.
Running in circles.
But I was going to talk about that later, too, so I'm glad you brought up Joy-Con problems. Continue.
It's a pain in the butt. So my left one drifts kind of up, right? Which was...
So you're having drifting.
Yes. And my right one has connectivity problems. So...
Oh, gosh.
The problem is I know Nintendo will replace them for free, allegedly. But,
yeah.
I'm going to lose them for 2 weeks and I'm not going to be able to play my Switch for that long. So it's either A, I wait for Final Fantasy VII to release and then do it. Or B, I get another set of Joy-Cons and get it over with. But it's...
Right.
It's mostly tolerable since I play so many turn-based things, but it's still ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Susie and I have each been playing that game with one Joy-Con, right? And normally normally the flow of those games is you have 5 or 6 named units on the field from the various Fire Emblem games or whatever franchise of Dynasty Warriors you're kind of playing. And usually you can switch between characters. And if I were playing single player in Fire Emblem Warriors, I could switch between characters. But because we're only using a Joy-Con, there's no button to switch between characters. So I'm stuck being the story character, which is... I guess she's decent enough, but still kind of lame. I'd rather be one of the...
Right.
One of the big Fire Emblem characters from the other games. And then Susie's been playing Chrom, which is just... She is at level 40 and I'm at level 30 something. But I think it's a pretty short game because we just started playing, in the last month and a half, and we, maybe play once a week at most or something like that. We don't play a whole lot. And we'll play for a couple hours, but we're already we're about to fight the Chaos Dragon, which I assume is the end of the game.
That sounds like the end.
Yeah, with a name like that, yeah.
I don't know if Chaos Dragon is always in the Fire Emblem games. I've gotten the impression from some of the lore that maybe that's a lot of the end state is dealing with the various people who are gods who can turn into dragons or something like that. But anyway, I don't know. That game's still, it's a good turn off the brain, kill a bunch of stuff, see some cool moves. They have some cool ultimates in there. But the co-op is really what's gotten us through it. But so probably next month we'll have beaten it at that point. I think we already tried the Chaos Dragon once and something went wrong and we quit. Or maybe we quit mid-game and then it got turned off. I don't remember. But yeah, like that in Chaos Dragon fight was a pain because you can't just hit it. You have to go do a bunch of stuff around the map before you fight it.
Oh, right.
And if you go and fight it, then you're stuck in the arena with it, which was the mistake I made, was immediately going to it.
Right.
But the game I've spent more time with, though, is I started Battletech again.
Oh, yeah.
This is the harebrained schemes, turn-based mech management PC game. Over the Christmas sale on Steam, I bought all the DLC, and I've been meaning to restart it for a while. It's just it's kind of an intimidating game. And a lot of it just has to do with they give you so much to experiment with, and they make it so easy to completely screw yourself in that game.
Oh, right.
So it's sure, experiment with putting like these dozens of different weapons and loadouts on your mech, but it's going to take your tech bay like a month and a half in-game time to do those refits, and in the meantime, you have to keep bringing in money because you get billed every month for your, like, you owe bank some money, you have to pay your crew, things like that. So, like today when I was playing, I started out, like, I put the game on easy, and I set it to have generous money payouts. So, This morning I started the game at 2 million credits. Finished I guess that was last night, now that I think about it. But I finished a story mission. I'm sorry, those things happen in conjunction. So, like, I finished the story mission, got paid a whole bunch of money, wound up with like 2 million, but 2 of my mechs were down. So I texted my buddy who's obsessed with this game and asked him for advice on loading it out, because it's the first opportunity that I really had money and a bunch of broken stuff, and I'm like, well, maybe I can make a better build out than what the default stuff is, but I don't. You're looking at this inventory screen of weapons of LRM and SRM and PPC, and like a lot of this stuff just actually stands for really sensible thing. Like LRM is long range missiles, like SRM is short range missiles.
Gotcha.
But everything is an abbreviation, which immediately makes it all intimidating.
Right.
And, like, on top of that, like, these weapons have different, like you can overheat your mech with it, so you have to put power sinks on it to counter it. And, like, you have weight restraints, and you have, like, front and back armor. Like, there's a lot of detail in there. So, like, I outfitted my first mech, and then noticed it would take 37 days in-game time to do it. And I thought, well, crap. Okay, well, I have 6 mechs right now. Maybe I can make this work. So I hit OK, and then I did another mech, and then that one was like 20 some odd days. And the thing I didn't think about was my tech bay can only do 1 mech at a time.
Oh, so that's that's a long time.
Yeah. And like I got to pay out like, I don't know, $250,000 a month in bills right now. So it's a bit of a strain. Like most battles you go into, something needs to be repaired. So like the next battle, normally you take in 4 mechs to a combat. And so this next one, because I had these mechs repairing from the previous battle and had these other mechs that were upgrading, I basically had 3 available mechs for it. And I said, okay, I'm just going to give this a shot. So I went and did it. I pulled off the mission. I didn't get any, like I took some mech damage, but nothing that couldn't be fixed for a couple days with each mech. But I didn't lose any weapons, which was my goal. But then the problem became, great, now I have 2 mechs that I need to repair that each only have a couple days to repair, but I have to prioritize them over the ones that still have 20 plus days to fix.
Right.
And I only made like $150,000 from this mission I just ran, and my monthly bills are $250, and I need to run another mission. But like
oh my goodness,
it's a little stressful.
Yeah.
So I guess you must be able to hire more people eventually, right? Surely not just one tech person, unless they get better at their...
I hope so. Like I can hire other pilots right now, and they're up...
No, you don't need more pilots. You need more. You need more people fixing things. You need techs.
I know.
You need literally battle techs.
I know. Quite literally. Man, I hope so, because I don't know how I'm gonna get through the rest of the game like this. But The next story mission's available, and I'm intimidated to start it without one of my 20-plus day mechs available, so I'm trying to bide my time and hopefully not run out of money. Like, the last story mission I did paid me like $1 million, so...
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I'm hoping this one is similar. So, like, just... I guess that was a lot of the mechanic stuff. Just to touch on kind of the vibe of the game, which I'm sure I talked about it way back in the day, but this game just has a absolutely killer intro mission. Like, you start out, I'm just gonna kind of spoil the first half hour or so of the game. You start out in this mission as a royal guard for this I can't remember her name, but she's going to be turned into the king or the duke or whatever it is of this space province area, right? And so you run through a couple pilot drills. They just had inspected your mech at the armory. And then you move on to this escort part for her coronation. And as you're going, you know, of course, there's a big betrayal and all this, and you wind up having to flee the planet. But, like, that battle is done in 3 stages, where, like, the first stage, you're like, this is no big deal. I can handle this. These guys got nothing. And then the second stage, you're starting to hurt a bit. And you're like, oh, I hope this is the last stage. And it's not. And there's a third stage, and you are super busted up by the end of it and just, like, barely escaping. And then they give you the impression that, you know, it's like they open the game with, like, an all is lost type moment. And they deliver the pressure kind of through the gameplay stages of that stage so well. Like, it's such a cool mission. I love the story stuff. It helps that the soundtrack is freaking amazing. I'm sure if you're a Waypoint fan or whatever, I'm sure I'm just repeating what they've already said or saying it in a much dumber way. But the soundtrack is by John Everest, and he just did this phenomenal job where the moment you start hearing that music playing, like, he uses kind of this mix of orchestral and synths that just builds this wonderful, like, tension, like, the entire time. I guess foreboding may be the word, but with, like, kind of an energy to it that's gives it a good vibe. And then, like, you know, this is kind of compared to, like, AAA stuff, this is a low budget game. And the way they do cutscenes is with that kind of stills that they'll kind of switch off to give impressions of animation type deal.
Yeah.
And the art style kind of combined with the music really makes it feel like high production value, even though you're not seeing an animation.
Right.
But it's I really like this game. I look forward to spending more time in it. It sounds like eventually you can eventually kind of break the economy system on the game, which I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that's sort of what you want.
Yeah, but not quite there yet. But anyway, I like it a lot. I recommend it, but at the same time, I recommend it for people who want that type of management sim.
Right.
Yeah.
Not just the tactic stuff, but also the base management, the unit management stuff. Like, if you liked that, sounds like if you liked that stuff in the XCOM reboot and you just wanted a whole lot more of that, it sounds like Battletech is kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, and even in, like, combat, you're thinking about the money things are costing you, because you're like, I have to execute this mission while taking, like, you might go in with, like, a damaged mech already, so you're trying to keep them in back lines, and you're trying to just bring them out to pop someone every once in a while. Like, you have maybe a smaller mech that you're using as a spotter, because they have an ability in the game called sensor lock, where you can get a mech where it's within range, and you have an idea of where this enemy is over the hill, and you sensor lock them, and it will show you what they are and give all your units a bonus to hit it.
Oh, cool.
So it's very much like I got my guy with the long-range missiles on the other side of this mountain, and I have my faster mech going over to sensor lock this other unit so my long-range missiles can hit it.
Right.
It's real unique. Like, another cool thing about the combat. So, like, all your mechs have multiple weapons on them for the most part, right? Whenever you target something to hit, you look in like the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It displays all your weapons at the percentage to hit with each one. And you can turn them off and on individually so you don't waste ammo. So,
oh, wow, okay.
Like, okay, I have a bunch of, I don't know, long-range missiles and a bunch of medium lasers. And you get close to a guy and only your medium-range lasers have a high percent to hit, so you save your missile ammo, obviously, you know.
Oh, okay.
It's cool. It's a lot of micromanaging. Managing.
Sounds like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot. And it doesn't, like, they have a bunch of text tutorials and text dumps in it, but I don't know that it does a great job at introducing you to the lore and tactically setting up your mechs. Like, they try some stuff, but I definitely don't have quite a good feel for the flow of the game in terms of like what bars I need to hit to stay financially viable in it.
Right.
But anywho, that's all I got.
All right, over to you, Mina, and what will probably be the lion's share of this episode.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk about the other things before I get to the big one.
Okay.
So first of all, I started playing Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. If you don't know what that is the randomizer slash I don't know what to call it.
Like difficulty mod, sort of?
It's a mod. It's a mod. So basically, you can really tune the game to have like a crazier experience. So first of all, Free Enterprise quite literally is saying they give you the free enterprise like right at the start, so you're already flying around, and you can kind of fine tune the experience to have like randomized bosses. So like the bosses all switch their spots. You can turn on and off encounters.
Oh, interesting.
So you could really just say, I don't want to have any encounters throughout the entire game, and it's possible to just level through the game by just killing bosses.
Huh.
You can randomize the key items. So like key items can be like normally you'd get, I'd get the magma key here or whatever,
right.
And that's progression. So you can have it randomize that. You can also have them randomize it not just at like boss locations rewarding you it, but maybe the summon locations. Moon bosses can have the key items, and you can really make this game like a fresh experience every time you go. You can randomize characters, chest contents can be randomized, and you can really make the game either super easy and have like a blast, just doing all kinds of crazy stuff, like make the shop sell really great stuff, and then also make it sell it for 0 gil. So
right.
Just buy it. Like everything's free.
Right.
You can have it so that way ultimate weapons can be found in random treasure chests.
Yeah.
You can walk around. I had a seed where I tried to make it somewhat difficult, but not too easy. And it ended up being stupidly easy because of the stuff I found in chests. I ended up getting 3 Cecils. Wow. Because I ran into 3 Cecils and 2 Fusoyas.
Oh, jeez.
And I ended up finding multiple crystal swords and then multiple Avengers.
Wow.
And what's really cool is that like because of the randomizer community has explained so many crazy things about the game to me, I found out that like the way the game is set up, if you give your character a piece of equipment that can make them go to the back row at any point in time in the game, they are permanently glitched to have the back row setting on them, which means that you can have a swordy dude in the back line doing the same amount of damage in the back line as he would in the front line.
Crazy.
And I did not know that. And they were like, yeah, that's in the original game. They were like, all these glitches that they found are all original game type stuff. It's just kind of like,
you can sort of force them now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So cool. And so I've been exploring that, and that's been a lot of fun to do. It's a really well crafted randomizer. And there's tons of resources out there if you're interested in that sort of type of randomized experience. They've got like how to handle these bosses at different locations, the ones that are troublesome. I came across like a super bad one that was like, he was really, really fast in this location, and also just kind of like trying to get my mind around how to defeat a boss, because the settings of the boss are mechanically, they still act the same. It's their stats that change.
Right.
So like, if you think about, for example, Kenazo does damage based on his HP. And like, so he does HP based damage. So like in his normal spot, it's, you fought Kainazo there. But if he's in the highest HP spot in the game,
right.
Suddenly he's dishing out 6k damage or whatever.
Right.
And suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, how do you stop such a fiend?
Right.
And not only does he doing so much damage, he's got 65k that you have to burn through to defeat him.
Interesting.
And suddenly that's a way different boss,
Yeah.
So, it's pretty fun. But yeah, it's called Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. It's a randomized thing. If like there is a way to do, I believe, with a proper, cartridge or something like that. I don't know how to do that. So there is like a way of doing it, like emulator and a ROM.
Yeah,
and then
patching
they
it.
patch it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to do. It's worth trying if you're interested in that sort of thing. So the second thing that I've been playing quite a bit of is this new mobile game called 7 Deadly Sins something. I don't know what. It's like grand something, whatever. 7 Deadly Sins is the easy, like you could probably find it on the App Store by just looking that up. So I know, like I've come to understand that this is from an anime, presumably originally a manga.
The 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross.
Grand Cross.
A cinematic anime game.
And from my understanding, they've straight up ripped like parts of the anime cutscenes in this game. This game has outdone itself with cutscenes. So the biggest selling point of this game that I can see is like one, you're guaranteed the highest rarity in the game, the SSR, once per 7 days. Log in, they give you an automatic ticket every week, and that never ends. So you always you're guaranteed to get, one of the,
right,
highest rarities every week.
That's great.
So I can't remember how many gems like are guaranteed from just free logins and just doing like, the daily stuff or whatever.
Right. Is that their premium currency?
Yeah, that premium currency, some sort of gem or whatever. It's like 150 or whatever. To do a 11 pull, I believe, is 30 gems.
Okay.
So it's like 150 gems or less every month, guaranteed by just doing your dailies and logging in or something like that. I don't remember.
Right, the standard stuff.
It's from what I've understand is that it's very free to play friendly.
Mm-hmm.
There are all kinds of ways to waste your gems. All kinds of ways. So I haven't quite gotten a grasp on exactly what is the best way to spend gems. According to everyone right now that's played the game over when it was just in Japan, Korea, or wherever, they've said that nobody should be wasting gems on the current banner or whatever. They're like, these are not worth it. Like if you're re-roll for like this one character, and otherwise just wait your 7 days. You're gonna get a ticket. Like,
yeah, there's no reason to spend otherwise. Right.
So they're like, just save for the way better stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's my understanding. I don't have too much of an opinion on it. It's the battle system is done through like you get like a bunch of cards, and then like a shuffled amount of cards. Like every character has like 2 cards that can possibly pop up. It's RNG with what pops up. So like, and then like if you have 2 of the same cards next to each other, they upgrade to like a silver card, and then if you have two of the same silver cards side by side, they become a gold card, which is the highest.
Oh, okay.
And then, like, you do different effects of the card depending on its rarity. So, like maybe, like, the regular card only does, like, 120% damage or whatever, but then the silver card does, like, it does 300, and then the gold card is, it does, like, you know, like, I don't know, 900% damage or something crazy like that. So then, like, you have that sort of thing. So if that sort of combat-y sort of thing sounds interesting, maybe look into it. If you're sold on the idea of, like, hey, I get a free SSR every week, that sounds great. It seems decent enough. The stamina regen is pretty dang fast. It's like every 2 minutes you get, like, 1 stamina back.
Oh, wow.
There's so much to the game that, like, the first week of this game I've been playing, I've uncovered so many things that I've done wrong. But it's like I've already done all this work and whatever, and it's just like a part of me is, like, frustrated that I did so many things wrong, but then another part of me is like, in, like, a couple months none of this will matter. So just like, I know now, I'll just get over it. It's fine. It's a pretty looking game.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose if you're fans of the show, you're probably already playing this. Like, I'm assuming it's because because I watched, like, a couple episodes of the anime. It's the same thing.
Nice.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's following all the story beats, like step by step in line with it. There's a couple things omitted from the game that are in the anime, but, like, the main idea seems to still all be there. It's interesting. It's an interesting mobile game. I kind of give it my thumbs up for it, for people to try, mostly because I think you can get away with basically just doing a total free-to-play experience, and that's always what sells me on mobile games, is when you can have a good time when it's free.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little cautious because of the publisher. I think it's the publisher. I don't know if it's I'm a little cautious because of who the publisher is, but it's kind of like, I don't know, as long as they don't do something like, they're like, yeah, we're getting rid of that 7-day free SSR thing. Like, if they do that, then it's like, get out.
Yeah.
Jump out of this ship immediately.
Yeah.
But, like, so far, it seems okay. So maybe I'll have a different opinion next month, because then I'll have at least a month and a week experience on it. But so far, seems good. And now the big one.
Okay.
The big one. And if you do not care about Rune Factory 4, you might need to skip for a little bit, because I need to talk about this game right here. So Rune Factory 4 Special is a port done absolutely right. An enhanced port done right. Mm-hmm. So I think... So if you have no idea what a Rune Factory is, and, like, the easiest way I can explain this is, because a lot of people have played Stardew Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if someone was like, I want Stardew Valley, except I want JRPG, story, action-y combat, character sprite art. Like, I want a JRPG Stardew Valley experience,
right? With
way more emphasis on a combat system, a crafting system, and have a well constructed, like, way more money put into it as well, like, not just a one-man operation, but, like, let's imagine if we had, like, a huge staff working all kinds of aspects of this game. So it's a really, it's so excessive in everything it does,
so it really is a JRPG.
It's so excessive. Yes, it has 3 arcs of a story. So like there's and they've made according to what I've heard, they've made the third arc easier to access than the original. They also added a hell difficulty to the game.
Oh yikes.
For people who were like, the hard difficulty was not hard enough, give me something meatier.
Is that the one you're playing on?
Yes.
Okay, I figured.
Well, I switch it around a little bit. I switch it around. On festival days, I tune the difficulty down. But like there's so like just like inside your house, there's like this book that you can look at and just change the difficulty from easy, normal, hard to hell.
Nice.
And in case you're wondering, like, well, what's the difficulty difference? Easy is like the easiest thing. Like if you're somebody who's just like, man, I really don't want to do combat. I do not.
I just want to farm.
Combat.
That's me.
I just want to farm. I want to capture monsters. I want to farm.
I want to smooch some people.
Maybe a little bit of crafting. Maybe a little bit of crafting. You know, and then like hang out with the villagers and stuff. Set that to easy, and then just destroy everything in your path. Because what it easy does is, number one, it lowers the levels of the enemies. It dumbs down their AI like excessively. Suddenly they don't attack. They attack like maybe like 10% of what they normally would. And so like they just kind of meander around a little bit, and then you can just like whack them up and like destroy them. And it with very little difficulty, you should be able to like go through the entire game on easy. I imagine if you used like the base level weapon and tried to beat the entire game with just the base level weapon, you might come back to me and say, hey, I couldn't beat the entire game with this level 1 weapon. I'd be like, yeah, just upgrade that weapon though and you're fine.
Right.
But like it's not hard. To the bosses in the game, the bosses AI, again, it lowers them to just like meander around quite a bit, but it also weakens all of their abilities. Like they do things like the first boss has like this ability to send out an AoE around itself, like this beam of AoE stun sort of attack. On the easiest difficulty, it's got such a small little ring that with barely a little bit of dodging, you know, little walk out of the AoE. Just step a little back. I think it also knocks you back, so it might even knock you out of the AoE after the first hit. So the easiest difficulty will do that.
The boss just like pushes you back a little bit and then does his attack and says, "Oh, you're safe. Come on back in."
You know, and then like it also does like a kick, so it will do like a single kick or whatever, and it'll kick you back.
Right.
It does this ability that kind of like it sends butterflies at you, and then like if the butterflies touch you, they kind of like slow down your movement speed, and that's maybe, I think it does like a 1 tick of damage to you or something like that. You put this on the hardest difficulty. That AoE, you better be able to dodge, okay?
Right.
And then instead of like a single kick, it is a flurry of like
Chun-Li's coming out,
kicking, like just like Chun-Li kick. There is even a spinning move it does where it puts you to sleep. So there's a spinning kick move that will put you to sleep if she like punches you. I don't know, sleep powders you. I don't know. You know. So and like then that butterfly move that was just kind of like a little bit annoying, that like, you know, kind of slowed your movement, would just suddenly just like, you know, absorbs HP and like heals itself. So like that's the difference between like, you know,
significantly
easy and
different.
hard. Easy and hard, and normal somewhere in the middle, where like everything is kind of like just it's the perfect difficulty slider. I've never seen a difficulty slider get it so right. You know, where like if you're just somebody who's just like, I'm not here for any of this, it's easy. But like if you're here for like a little bit of the battle or whatever, you set that to normal, and you're going to get like, you know, a somewhat, you know, like for a normal like a, you know, a little bit of difficulty, and
you
then
can't just mash A the whole time.
Yeah. And then like the bosses respawn every day. So they're once a day, kill this boss, they respawn. So like and they drop some rare stuff. They also give you points to spend on festivals and improving the town a little bit. So like you get like a lump of points whenever you kill those bosses. So maybe like you came at this on normal difficulty, and you were like, you know what, tomorrow I'm feeling really good, I'm gonna set this to a harder difficulty. Or even if like maybe you were like battling it on hard and you were like, this boss is too much, but I want to beat this boss today, just drop it down to normal and go in there and you thwack the boss and it's over, So I know some people have told me that they don't want to buy Rune Factory because it's just Animal Crossing, and Animal Crossing is coming out in like, that is a horrible comparison.
Right.
Animal Crossing and Rune Factory are not the same game.
Why would I buy Fire Emblem Three Houses? I've played Persona 5 already. It's like, no.
They're not the same. Okay?
Right.
You can talk to villagers, that's the same.
Right.
Okay? You can somewhat decorate a house. That is somewhat the same. But like these games are so different. That is not a good excuse. If you tell me that, like, okay, I can only afford one game, that's a different story. But if you're telling me I don't want to buy Rune Factory 4 because I can buy Animal Crossing, which is a better Nintendo, like, it's going to be a polished Nintendo product, that is a horrible excuse. Like,
how dare you?
Go buy Rune Factory 4. Like, don't make me. This game I love so much. It is. I don't believe that there is such a thing as a perfect game. I don't think a perfect game really exists, because I think you can always find a problem with a game to complain about. This is what I call a perfect sequel to a good game series, which I do think exists. I think a game can get better from the previous one to the point where you're like, this is a perfect answer to it. Like, Danganronpa 2 is a perfect sequel.
Yeah,
to
like
Danganronpa 1.
they honed everything they were trying to do, and it's like, here's the perfect vision of what they were going for.
Right. Earthbound is like the perfect sequel to the Mother
right.
1, because it's literally, what if Mother 1 got everything better?
What if we had a budget?
What if we like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
What if Iwata just like completely built this game from scratch?
Yeah.
So like, Rune Factory 4 is the realization of everything Rune Factory 1, 2, 3, Tides of Destiny, Frontier, like all of that stuff all crammed into the one game. It's the Fire Emblem Awakening of the Rune Factories. It is so good, and I really want people to give this one a chance. Maybe you don't want to give like 1, 2, 3, like all the other ones a chance. Give Rune Factory 4, and it's on the Switch now.
Yes.
There's no like,
you have a Switch. Everyone has a Switch.
You probably have a Switch.
Right.
You probably do.
You might be playing it right now.
And like, I was gonna say in the middle of Musum's thing, I know what Musum has been doing on his Switch. Like, right.
The Game Club game. For people that are maybe listening to this out of order or don't listen to TVGP, the Game Club game this month is Stardew Valley. So it's sort of funny that this is coming at the same time, where it's like, I'm experiencing Stardew Valley for the first time, because I have always put it off because I know I would have a problem with the game. Not that I wouldn't enjoy the game, just playing it too much. Right. And that is definitely the case. And I'm sort of side-eyeing Rune Factory 4, like, oh, you're only $40, and you're a much deeper experience.
$40. That is so worth it. They've added more content to this game. I didn't think you could cram more content to this game. The game has 3 arcs. It has multiple dungeons. You can go to level 50,000 in this game, for Christ's sakes.
Was this a Disgaea game?
There's like an endless dungeon.
Oh, man.
Every item in the game has some sort of like, stat that if you like, so you can upgrade weapons in this game, right? Mm-hmm. And you can take these random items and craft them into your weapons or armor, and they gain the status effect from the item. So like, everything in this game, monster drops, like crafted things can be used to upgrade crafted things. The crafting system is intense if you care about it. It is intense. You can grow dungeons. You can grow weapons. You You can, like, there are bosses that only exist in the world on certain days of the year or certain weathers. Like, rare spawns exist in this game.
Oh, man.
Every character in the town, besides 2 of them, can come travel with you and fight by your side. You can have 2 people fighting by your side from the village. All of them besides 2. The grandma and the giant god dragon, which can't leave. Those are, like, so the grandma can't leave. Too old. You know, right. She's admits, like, I think you can even ask her to come along with you, and she'll just be like, you know, I'm a little too old.
Yeah, she's like, nah, man. Appreciate the invite, but
and she's also got like an illness and with a cough or whatever. So maybe you know, there's good reasons why the grandma can't come with you.
Yeah.
And the god dragon's like, I have to protect the village. I cannot leave. I have to be here. So plus, the god dragon would take up the whole screen. Like, right. I wouldn't even know how you attack.
Maybe that's a post-game thing.
So, like, but like, all the characters have, like, you know, you can equip them with stuff. Like, you can equip them with stuff you craft.
That's cool.
They have, like different characters learn different abilities, so they all have, like, their own little different trees and stuff. You can have 2 children, I believe, in this game, and, like, your children learn stuff based on your spouse or whatever. So, like, you can have, like, certain marriage candidates will teach kids, like, basically different abilities. They have their standard abilities, but, like, yeah, they also kind of adopt a little bit of something from their parent. Like, this, you can ride on monsters. You can capture any monster in this game. You can capture bosses in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And use them as monsters. You can invite monsters to go with you in battle instead of just the villagers. You can have you can have a boss.
That's my weakness.
Fight the boss that you just captured, you know? I literally take the first boss to fight the first boss all the time.
So,
you know? And it's
an important question for me. I'm assuming you can improve your homestead, like your farm and your house and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Can you improve or build parts of the town?
So you can, there's the system called the prince or princess system, whichever, you know, gender you are. And what you can do is based on, you know, gaining prince or princess points, you can do things like improve the things that the villagers sell. You can invite a merchant to come and build their shop.
Okay.
There's, like, you can do that sort of thing. Like, the town is already pretty established. So, okay. Like, improving your farm. So what you can do is you can upgrade your single plot farm into, like, multiple plots. You can upgrade your house by getting more rooms attached.
Oh, okay.
And then, like, you get, like, certain things of furniture that you can plop down in the place in your room
house.
Or whatever,
right.
In your house. It's not as anywhere near as you know, decorative as you can do with, like, a lot of other games. It's pretty. It's got, like, you know, there's no customization to this, which is why when people compare it to Animal Crossing, I'm like, this is so far from being Animal Crossing.
Yeah, they're very much opposites. Yeah. The only reason I was asking is because that's, like, my one real JRPG weakness is, like, we need your help as the hero to rebuild the town. It's like, oh no, I'm in. Oh, you got me.
It's not so much rebuilding the town. It's trying to kind of enhance the lives of the villagers.
Like, improve what's already there.
Improve what's there. So, there's that.
Boy, this all sounds really good.
There's if you ever look at, like, you know, Skyrim and be like, man, there's a lot of you know, stats to improve in Skyrim. You know, there's, like, you know, sneaking stats or whatever. There is a sleeping stat. There is a bathing stat. There is an eating stat. A walking stat. There's a stat. Like, and all of these stats, you're like, well, what are these skills and stuff?
Right, how am I getting better at sleeping?
Like, well, you sleep.
Right.
You sleep and you improve that stat. But, like, that particular skill or whatever stat breaks down into like sleeping increases your vitality. And so now your vitality goes up, and maybe like running increases vitality and strength, and so now your vitality and strength go up.
Gotcha.
Eating food increases your intelligence or something like so like all of these tasks that you do in the day type stuff increases like your stats, and your stats can go to ludicrous numbers. I don't remember the specific. I believe like HP goes to like 9999999 something like that.
Jeez.
You know?
But you're filling all these bars by just kind of going about your daily business around town and around your farm.
Yes.
Interesting.
Daily business talk. There's a talking stat.
Yeah.
So talking to villagers increases.
The podcasting stat, why not?
I mean, they could have put it in there if they wanted to. There's a selling or a bartering merchant type staff, because you can also once you get to a certain point of the game and you unlock some stuff, because there's a drip feed of unlocking stuff in this game. They don't throw this all at you at once. They kind of drip feed it a little bit. There's like a merchant stall that you eventually can unlock, and then like you can stand there and sell your products that you have in your little chest. And if you're like, well, I only really care about farming, you know? Well, how can you make farming crazy though? Right. You can upgrade all of your vegetables up to different levels, and they sell for more, and there are better ingredients for crafting. No. And if you're like, well, what else can you do? You can buy a magnifying glass, and then take the magnifying glass and look at the soil and adjust the quality of the soil to improve the products that you grow in. And then you can take all sorts of fertilizers and things and just like upgrade the soil to the point where you're just making giant crops. So you can make medium-sized crops, but you can also grow a ginormous crop, like a giant potato.
Just something that would show up in the newspaper that big.
You can have one that's literally bigger than you are, grown on your property, and so you're like, well, what about these monsters you keep talking about that you can capture? What can they do? Well, one, some of them can give you items. So like every day they can drop like items. Like I captured a bee and it can drop me honey every day.
Nice.
There's a sheep which always drops a little bit of wool on the ground, but you can also shear the sheep and get some extra wool. And then like, well, let's say you've befriended the monster long enough. The monster's like, hey, you know your farmland there, you know, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna water your farmland, and if you give me seeds, you know what, I'll go ahead and plant seeds and water your farmland for you. You just, you know, pick up the stuff, and you know, that's all you have to do is pick up your rewards. And that's just from taking care of monsters. And you can have a lot of monsters. I mean, I've got a silver wolf that I ride into the sunset with.
Yeah, you do.
You know, right? And like I've got a giant butterfly, half butterfly, half lady that also I can.
So it's a Persona game too. Around. You're saying?
Yes, and I mean like, and all the monsters have their normal attacks. Even the bosses have their normal boss attacks. So as crazy as that boss was to beat, that boss is just as crazy by your side doing that kind of damage.
Oh, man.
If you really want to capture bosses, though, for anybody who's like excited about capturing bosses, they are a bit harder to capture than your regular average monster. So you might want to like Google, you know, how do I get this boss? Because they're a bit more specific. But still crazy. I have a giant Reaper that I can ride on the back of. He is huge. He has like 5, like if we squished 5 of me together, you know, on the screen, maybe we've taken up the space of this giant Reaper with this giant scythe that is at least like 3 times as long as me. And I ride on the Reaper's back and we just go, you know, swivel destroying stuff. This game is so good.
I think you fully sold me on this game, and I've put it on my wish list just because it sounds like it's like you're saying, it's the culmination of the whole series and kind of the next step of, if you liked Harvest Moon, if you like
Yes.
Stardew Valley, if you like these sort of day-to-day management sims, it sounds like this is kind of, we're going to take this thing and kind of improve everything and make all of it crazy.
It's excessive is all I can say. Is the entire game is absolutely
in a positive
excessive
way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
And I know that it's kind of overwhelming for some people to just like be like, there's so much to do. What do I do? Do whatever you want. Don't pigeonhole yourself into this feeling that you have to do everything, because that's too much. I can't. There's too much in it. Like, it's too much to do that you can't possibly squish it all into a day. If you're trying to figure out what to do specifically, though, there's a request box that they tell you right at the beginning. They're like, check out this request box. Make that kind of like your goal to like, I'm going to try and complete a request box thing.
Right.
And then like the earlier ones, easy. Later ones, very complicated. So.
That's cool.
I got a couple questions.
Okay.
So before we started recording, going live, Boston and I were talking about Stardew Valley. And
yes.
This is a game that I'm, like, to a degree, like, I've been afraid to turn it on because I keep being afraid that I'm going to miss my window of opportunity. Like, it's going to be a Persona social link that I can only interact with on Sundays. And then after this season over, I permanently missed it.
April 13th, though, you missed the event.
There's none of that.
Okay, good. So that's...
There's not... Well, the only thing that there is... So, like, with your prince and princess points, you can decide when to have festivals. So if you don't spend prince or princess points, it's like, the festival won't happen. We're not going to have a festival. So, if you... Like, that's the sort of thing. But you get so many points by just doing stuff. If you can't initiate festivals, then... I imagine you're just, like, sleeping in bed, like, just waking up and going immediately to bed. Like, by natural doing stuff, you should be able to initiate festivals.
And like, so the festivals, even if you missed one, like, you could probably do it again later, right?
Next year.
Yeah.
Next year.
Okay.
As for, like, regular events, so, like, I'm sure you're thinking about, like, sort of like, oh, what about this, event that pops up? The game actually does this thing where it's like, hey, there's an event going on in town. And, like, when you go to your save point, which is next to your bed, the save point, there's a little menu that'll pop up that will say town event. And you'll be like, oh, there's a town event going on today.
Cool.
So if you look at the town event, it'll be like, it'll tell you the name of the event, and then it will tell you the people involved in the event. So if, like, it won't tell you, like, where to specifically go, but it'll be like, Forte, Vishnal, and... Volcanin or whatever. Those are three of the characters' names, and it'll be like, those are three people. So that's your hint to say, like, I should look for where these three people are and maybe go talk to them, and maybe that'll clue me in on the event. Or worst case scenario, if you're just like, I absolutely don't know, don't care, Google it, and the event will never expire until you complete it. You will not get a new event until you beat that event. That event is like locked in, and it's like, no, we will not have a new event till you see the entirety of this.
Right.
So that's sort of like that fear of like skipping something or missing something. It shouldn't really happen. The festival is the only thing that you can kind of miss, and that's just because you didn't initiate it.
Okay. That doesn't sound bad. So my second question is, the $60 version is still available on Amazon. It sounded like it was probably just an art book and some extra costumes. Like, do you think it's worth it for the extra 20?
So, for the true fans of Rune Factory, for Rune Factory the series, like, if you liked Rune Factory as a series, I think the $60 is worth it, because I've seen a lot of art books in collector's editions, and it's just like, oh, that's cool. That's like cool. I don't know. Give me a number of how many pages you think an average art book is.
God, most of them are like 20.
Yeah.
It's
right?
Nothing.
150
wow.
in this art book, and it contains all the Rune Factories from 1, 2, 3, Frontier, Tides of Destiny, and 4. All the
cool.
character arts, little bits of story about like the thing, and so like, and it comes with the original soundtrack. Sounds amazing. And I've got the box right here. It's a very nice looking box. I don't know. So for me, and like the costumes not a big deal. You don't really need that. But for me, and probably anybody who's like a real Rune Factory fan, it's only like $20 extra for something that's really like, this is the game that I would spend it on, for the entire series. If they remade like 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3 Tides of Destiny, whatever, I probably wouldn't go like this route. But 4 is such an important and special, and it's the one that they shut down on after tripling the sales of this game of any of their previous titles. They tripled the sales of this game, and then they had to shut down from bankruptcy.
Oh man.
And what a way to, like, that was such a sad way to go out. And it's been years since this IP was touched. And to have it come back, and you can kind of tell that, I think that's the reason why that book is so nice, is because it's kind of like a nod to a lot of the fans who have just been patiently waiting for years and years for this to come back, just like, and Rune Factory 4 Special is absolutely, like, you couldn't have picked a better way to try and revitalize the IP, because this should bring back, like, anybody who was a fan of the original one, you're getting the game on the Switch, looks great, load times are still as snappy as ever, like, this game is polished. It is just as polished as I remember on the 3DS. I even just recently played it on the 3DS because I was working myself up to play it on the Switch.
Right.
Everything is just as good, if not better. They cleaned up a lot of the sprite art. There are things that I never saw on the 3DS that now, looking on the Switch, I'm like, oh, that's what that was. I thought that was just a random blob thing, but no, it's just a really elaborate looking statue that I thought it was just a blob in the original. And then like the actual like art of like the characters clearly has been cleaned up, or at least they've, like, because of the Switch being somewhat better than the 3DS somewhere, and graphics is like, it looks really clean. I don't think that this game will look very beautiful on, like, a full TV or whatever, but like on the Switch, the game looks perfect, like just handheld mode. I could gush about this game for hours and hours. If you ever wondered, like, hey, Mina, I want an RPG recommendation, Rune Factory 4 Special, just get it. It's at this price, it is still a steal to me. I'm amazed that they're selling the regular version for only $40. They didn't have to sell it for that. They could have easily sold the regular version for $60. Right. They could have definitely done that, and I would have been like, that's still a steal, because the content in this game is so much that you will definitely get your money's worth out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, and the ability to have so many save slots. Oh my gosh, I used to only have 3 save slots. Now I have more than I can dream of. The whole reason why I have multiple copies of Rune Factory 4 was so that way I could have multiple saves. But this is so amazing. The game is so good. Go get it, please. Yeah. Please, if like you are listening or watching to PUP, go get Rune Factory 4. Like, this is literally what I would say 100% of the time. Maybe for eternity. I don't know. Buy this game. Because I think that this game will also suit a lot of like non-gamers too. I think like you can get a lot of people who are just like, maybe they have like an interest in it, or maybe they're not, ready to like jump into a lot of the harder, because like the combat system is so good too. Oh man, because there's multiple weapons. I didn't even talk about that. There's multiple weapon types, and they all fight differently. So like this isn't just like and like, oh, I forgot the translation. Oh my goodness. One last thing, the translation in this game. So like the original version of the game had like limited text boxes.
Yeah.
When this game came over, Xseed's staff went above and beyond in translation. So not only did they do like, a really good job translating, but like in item descriptions, they got a little cute. The item descriptions, they got cute, and it's so amazing. So like I got the one that I'm thinking of right now is the bat. I got a bat, and it said like, nobody would pick this bat as a starting weapon except for a striped shirt kid and a cap.
Nice.
And it's like, that wasn't there in the original. game, but it's in here because the translation team made it cute. And then like a weed or something like that, like the little weed on the ground that you pick up and just you normally chuck. Oh, weeds are actually valuable though. You want to use those for fertilizer. But anyways, weeds. It said like in the item description, weeds are cool because they do whatever they want or whatever. Like they grow wherever, they do whatever, and that makes it cool because it's a weed.
Right.
But oh my goodness, the game is so good, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm going to let you talk, Boston.
All right. I've got a whole bunch of games that I'm going to just kind of blow through pretty quickly here. SaGa Scarlet Grace Ambitions. I am finished with that. I did not finish it, however, and I am completely unable to.
Oh, no.
I got to the very final boss of the very final character, and I over-leveled myself to the point where the game broke. And with most of his games, Quazu's games, that's not a positive. Most games when you over-level, it's just like, yeah, one shot at the boss, whatever. In SaGa Scarlet Grace Ambitions, I over-leveled so much that the final boss got exponentially stronger than my party is, and there's no real way for me to get out of that situation. And it's kind of because of the character I ended the game with, and how much over-leveling I did to kind of boost one of my character's spells. It's a lot of inside baseball about how the SaGa games work. If you've ever played a SaGa game before and you're listening to this, you have been in this situation before, like I have been in nearly all of these games before. I made a mistake. I should have known better, but I still really love SaGa Scarlet Grace Ambitions. I love the SaGa series overall. I've loved it ever since I bought and played Final Fantasy Legend on the Game Boy. I shouldn't have played it when I was that young because that game is brutally difficult. But there's something about this like obtuse, really weird, complex series that I really love. And I think the SaGa teams focus on maximizing what Scarlet Grace Ambitions does really well and minimizing a lot of other stuff. Like, you don't need to get lost in a dungeon that has 30 dead ends that have nothing down them and one stairway to the next floor. Like, dungeons are just going to be battles. There's no reason to explore towns and spend all that development money to do that. There's just going to be a series of menus. You focus on the battle system, you focus on the skills and the weapons and all that stuff, and you really focus on the stuff that matters. I really like SaGa Scarlet Grace Ambitions. I really recommend it to people that want to try something different. And you might have that SaGa experience where you just totally get boned on one of your playthroughs, and that's okay. But this is one of my favorite RPGs of the last couple years, mostly because the battle system is so solid and it focuses so strongly on that, and it kind of takes the SaGa series and makes it accessible. And it's a really great looking game. The like pop-up book style for the map is great. The music is great, of course. There's not a lot of story and there's not a lot of voice acting, which is kind of a benefit in and of itself. So I could probably go back through and play through that character's story again, but I feel like I need to move on to other stuff. Mostly because there was a sale and I picked up Atelier, Ryza, Ever Darkness, and The Secret Hideout. Everybody who plays this game really loves it. It was on sale for like $40. And I was like, all right, this is a really good time for me to hop in. I've always wanted to hop into the Atelier series because it's mostly crafting, and that is my jam. I haven't played a ton of this, but everything seems really great so far, and one of the biggest benefits to this is you meet your trio of 3 party members. Ryza is your main character, and she has grand ambitions to get out of her tiny town, and she wants to see the wider world. She's got like a big guy with her and a tiny guy with her. And you go to this dungeon, you go do some real quick fighting, and then the tutorial is only an hour long, and then at the end of it, basically the game tells you, like, hey, we've given you the foundational lessons about how to do alchemy. You need to go figure it out now. Like, we're not going to give you all the answers. You can buy more books in the market to learn more recipes. Here are a couple of quests to get you started. Go figure out alchemy. And then just completely takes off the training wheels, which I really like, because it could have spent the next 10 hours saying, all right, now we're going to create this recipe, and here's the place these things are, and we're going to scoop them all up and make some stuff. And it's telling you, like, hey, we taught you how to do this. Now go do it. So I'm kind of excited to dive into that and to see more of that, because it left a really great first impression on me. I don't think we talked about this last month. Did we talk about the Persona 5 Strikers demo? I think it came out this month, right?
See, I remember talking about it on Discord.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about it on the show.
What is Persona 5 Strikers? Is that the Dynasty Warriors? It's
basically
one?
Persona 5 2.
Yeah, it's a Persona Musou game, but like Mina just said, the trailer, one of the most recent trailers for Persona 5 Strikers has the logo comes on the screen and it says P52, and then the 2 gets knocked out by the letter S, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cute. I didn't really expect this to be so much of a direct sequel. You get through the first Musou fight, and it's fine. It's a Dynasty Warriors fight. And then your main character and Morgana arrive back in town. You have to go to LeBlanc, and like all the people are there, all the stuff is there. The music is still the same. There's some new music, of course, but and then it just kind of picks the story back up from where Persona 5 ended, and the demo is kind of like the next hour is kind of, here is more Persona 5 story.
Yeah.
And it so far seems, it's in Japanese, so I know none of it. But it all seems really great. If you have a Japanese account on your Switch, you can download the demo now. It's coming out on Switch and PS4, so I'll probably pick it up on PS4. But it seems really great. It is Persona 5 2 again, with Musou now. But even the Dynasty Warriors Musou fighting stuff is like, hey, you have Arsene with you, and you pull up a menu with all of your Persona skills, and some of them say weak because the enemies you're fighting are weak against it, and you pick that attack, and then Arsene just kind of does a whole bunch of like spells against the little enemy personas in the field, and it's all there.
Even though it is a Musou game, it definitely, like, if you had told me, it's a Musou game, but it looks so much like it's been infused with Persona so much that it's more like a Persona game that has Musou style.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yep. Because that is how well it's integrated. Yeah, it seems really good. The Switch version runs really well. It looks fine. I mean, it's not going to look as good as something run on PS4 Pro, but it runs really well. No frame rate issues, no load time issues. So I'm a lot more interested in Strikers than I was originally, because I thought it was going to be like one of those like mission 1 and then 2 minutes of stories, mission 2. But it seems like it genuinely really is a Persona 5 sequel, and that's really exciting that they're kind of going that far with it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Real quickly, Division 2, the Warlords of New York expansion came out this week. it's more Division 2, and Division 2 is already really great, so I don't really want to spend too much time on that because they haven't fundamentally changed what that game is. I do want to talk about a new thing they have added called the Recalibration Library. So there's this system in the game called the Recalibration Station, which in and of itself is fun to say. And it's basically, if you have a really great weapon, but one stat on the roll isn't that great, you can... How you would do it before is you'd take another gun that had that great stat, kind of replace your favorite gun with a better stat from another gun, and the second gun gets deleted. How they do it now with the recalibration library is, let's say you find a gun that has like plus 15 assault rifle damage, plus 15% assault rifle damage on it. You destroy that gun to put that plus 15 assault rifle damage in your library, and now permanently in your library, you have that skill at that level. So if you found one before with assault rifle damage plus 5%, you can replace it with a higher value, and then infinitely you can use that skill and apply that to a favorite weapon of yours. Like, I have an assault rifle I really like, but the assault rifle damage was like 2% on it. I've now replaced that value from my library with the 15% value, and that still stays in the library. So getting more gear and farming for gear becomes more important, other than, well, I have all these yellow gear pieces and purples are dropping, so I'm not even gonna pick them up. They're garbage. Now you're always on the lookout for god rolls of all these values, because you can then put them in your library to then apply them to some of your favorite guns in the future that maybe are really close to being perfect for your playstyle, except for this one value. I think that's really smart, and I would like more games to steal that. Just because I think it helps a lot with some of the farming in loot games like this, where it's like, all right, I'm going to farm for the next 5 hours for this perfect roll, and now you can get close and not have to worry about it being absolutely perfect. So I think that's a really cool. Division 2 has a lot of really cool systems in it that I would like other games to steal. Cough, cough, Destiny 2. That I think they're doing some really smart stuff over there. Lastly, this morning I played through the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo that came out on PS4. Oh God, it's so good. I think, number one, God, it looks so good. It just... HDR was enabled by default. It's 4K HDR, and it just looks so good. No frame rate drops, no load time issues, none of that stuff. Controls super well. The new music is really good. It is very well orchestrated versions of sort of every classic song that you know from Final Fantasy VII. Now that the game is bigger, because the demo is just the bombing mission, which it took me a little over an hour to get through in the demo, so it is immediately significantly larger. They do some interesting stuff to extend some of those songs in really interesting ways. I think for me, the big question was the battle system. And I think it's as soon as Cloud hops off the train. No, it's right before you start the game. It asks you, hey, what battle system do you want to use, essentially? It gives you like like simple, normal, and action, I think, are the options. Something weird. Basically,
it's classic. Classic,
yeah, that's the one. And classic very much is you are largely going to use a turn-based system that you can run around in. So it's not traditional Final Fantasy VII where like the screen goes and then you load up and then, left side, right side, none of that stuff. But you do get the time to choose your attacks and choose your target and stuff like that. I didn't go with that system because based on videos, it looks fine. And it looks like it functions. I did go for the sort of suggested action style. And that works really well. Cloud has sort of two different stances he can use. One that's faster attacks and one that's heavier, slower attacks. He has his normal limit break, which looks super cool. His normal skills, bunch of spells, items. Kind of the normal Final Fantasy VII stuff is all there. It's just that you can hack and slash along the battlefield. Anytime you hit the X button, the menu pops up, and as you're picking stuff, the game will slow down. So as you're looking through your spells, it's not that, you're getting bombarded by enemies. I think my only thing that I was a little bit less than, 100% enthused by was the boss battle, the Scorpion tank boss battle.
Yeah.
It is long. It was very short in Final Fantasy VII. And it looks great and it's super actiony, but I feel like the boss had just way too much health and it made the boss battle really, really long. It's very fun, and it's cool to go through and fight a significantly different boss battle. But I just kind of wish
I'm kind of wondering if that's how all the bosses are going to be, though.
Yeah, there was an article from Kotaku, I think. I think Jason Schreier wrote about, like, hey, I spent 3 hours, like the first 3 hours of Final Fantasy VII, and he sort of played the bombing mission, and then the Square Enix staff hopped him through a bunch of other scenarios in the game, and he was fighting the Buster hover thing, when you go back to Shinra the next time and you fight that big. Apparently that boss battle was also pretty significantly long, so it seems like anytime you fight one of those marquee bosses, it's going to be kind of an event. So we'll see how that goes. That might significantly pad the the length of this game out by itself. But you escape so one of the storyline differences in this game is Avalanche does not successfully detonate the bomb on the Mako reactor. It fizzles out, and then Shinra blows up the reactor itself to sort of frame Avalanche.
I was like pretty sure that's not what happened.
I think that's a clever twist, because I think it shows that, let's not mix words. Avalanche is an eco-terrorism
They are
group.
eco-terrorists.
Yeah, and I think it shows that they are committed to making violent change, but through an accident, nothing really happens, and Shinra gets to sort of exert their power by blaming Avalanche for something. They can set up Avalanche for the fall, which I think is really interesting. But the remake seems really cool. I think it seems like sort of what you would want for a remake of Final Fantasy VII that's only going to focus on the very first part of Final Fantasy VII. It seems great, and I'm now a little bit more excited. I've been trying not to think about getting excited about it because it's still a month and change away. But it seems great, so go give it a shot if you have a PS4. It's a free demo, and I don't think they're pulling it down at any point. But I think if you download it, you get like a PS4 theme or something like that matters in 2020. But yeah, go try it out. It's super good. Let's move on to RPG releases for March 2020. Langrisser 1 and 2 comes out on PC, Switch, PS4 on the 10th. Neo 2 comes out on the PS4 on the 13th. I sort of forgot that it's only a PS4 title, but that's people seem to really like Neo. Maybe I'll get into that one of these days. If you've been looking to get into Kingdom Hearts, the Kingdom Hearts All-in-One package comes out on the PS4 on the 17th. This contains every single Kingdom Hearts game, including 3. So if you wanted to get started with this crazy, kind of dumb ride that is Kingdom Hearts, that's actually a really great package, because Kingdom Hearts 3 itself just came out last year, and I think this package is only $60. So it's a darn good value.
Looks like it's 50 actually, so
50, even better. Look at that. And last but not least, Persona 5 Royal comes out PS4 on the 31st, which I forgot was coming out so soon. Crap.
I don't know if I can pop for it.
Yeah, I have it pre-ordered. Because it has a steelbook, and I have a weakness for steelbooks, but we'll see if I keep my pre-order for that one. 2 quick news stories here. BioWare announces a substantial reinvention for Anthem. This is the rumor of like Anthem 2.0 or Anthem Next, as it was called. They're going to stick with while they're sort of going dark and working on relaunching this, they're going to keep the holiday events, weekly refreshes, all the existing regular events, so it's not like Anthem just gets sealed in amber for the next however long. Then in the coming months, the companies will focus on more, quote, fundamental work to bring out the potential of the experience, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards, end quote. So all of
They're going to make a game.
Yeah, like they're going to take that game and kind of restart the whole thing. The one interesting quote here that I think is sort of damning is Casey Hudson at BioWare says they'll be quote, doing something we'd like to have done more of the first time around, giving a focused team the time to test and iterate, focusing on gameplay first. End quote.
Wow.
So if you ever guessed what the problems were with Anthem, it sure sounded like it was EA. Like in that quote alone, where it's like, hey, we needed more time, and it sort of, someone pushed their hand on the back of Anthem and says, get out there, slugger, and they were not ready. So
I'll be interested to see if they can, like, 1, if they can actually manage to reinvent this in a pleasing way, and 2, if they can talk anyone to downloading and playing it again.
Yeah, you almost have to worry or wonder if, does Anthem come back as a free-to-play title? Does Anthem come back as something that's significantly cheaper? Because I think we've had, over the last couple of years, there have been a couple of success stories like Final Fantasy XIV, No Man's Sky. Like, there have been a couple of games that launched to very bad reception. And they were able to, in the case of Final Fantasy XIV, just kind of start all the way back over. No Man's Sky, they kind of tucked in and kind of got stuff done. So I think there's a potential for BioWare to bring Anthem back. But like you said, Musum, I think there's going to have to be... It's going to have to be so significantly different, like how Final Fantasy XIV was when A Realm Reborn dropped, where it's like, ignore...
They had to get back the community as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, because the community was setting the whole thing on fire. I was present for the whole thing. I was on the forums the whole time, and people, they wanted blood so badly.
Yeah.
And it took the entire management staff was all cut from the game. Like, everybody was cut. Mm-hmm. They were all thrown out. And they were like, we will, burn the ashes of the game.
Starting all the way back over.
And put someone in charge to really like get back. Like they did so many producer talks, answers, whatever, questions, and they did live streams. Suddenly it was like a monthly thing. Like there would be a live stream where they had, you know, Yoshi P with all of his staff sitting at a table answering everyone's questions. They were like, you know, questions were allowed on the forums because Square Enix was notorious for never talking to anybody about anything.
Yep. And like, here's the thing, enjoy. And
now we had like the forum with like an actual like post your question here, upvoted questions or requests to fix this game. Like people were like, well, I want this in the game. If enough people were like, I want this in the game, it got voted up, and then suddenly someone would curry that over to, you know, Yoshi P's staff and be like, they want this in the game, and he
how does that sound?
Slap that in.
Yeah.
And he basically said from the beginning, he's like, there's going to be multiple steps. One, can we implement it in right now to this bad game? Like, can we take what your good idea is and put it in the bad game that we're ultimately going to trash? But we need to show to the community, like, we really mean business. We are going to, one, make this game enjoyable while you can enjoy it. And then two, work on the game that we promised to give you. And everybody who already owned the first copy, automatically you're grandfathered into
you're
the
good
second.
to go. Yeah.
And then they did things like if you played during, because they were like, we still need funding to make this brand new game all over again. If you continue paying for your sub on the, you know, game we're ultimately going to trash, you will have a permanent discount on your future sub for the next one. So like I don't remember what most people pay for the game anymore, but I still pay the $10 with as many characters as I want, whereas most people have to pay, I don't know what the base number is, plus an additional whatever for every extra character you want.
Sure.
I'm grandfathered into an amazing product, and also they're like, and we're going to give all the original characters cool back tattoos that showed that you survived the meteor that destroyed the entire game. Yeah. You know, and they gave you cool rewards. It was their way of like, we need to show to the community that's like leaving or barely hanging on, hey, we mean serious business of like making this better and trying to be good to you.
Like, if you've got us, we've got you.
Right. Yeah. And then like, but that wasn't the only thing they had to do. They also had to, and they did a lot of show your work type stuff. Like, hey, look at this. This thing looks cool, right? Do you guys like it?
Right. Right.
Does it look good? Oh, we're going to put it in the game. You like it. Okay. What about this one? Right. They basically did that with 14, and they really like, they wanted to get so much community feedback, and like that is what really helped the community from let's burn the whole thing, never buy a Square Enix game again. Clearly they're just greedy, and like they didn't try at all to make this a good game. They thought they could just like plop a turd out here and we'd all buy it and eat it. And like people were so angry, and like all of that anger, it existed for months, you know. It was like, and it was worldwide anger, you know. Japan was angry, you know. It wasn't like just the West being like, we had like global anger.
And I hope that Anthem can get there, because I think, like Final Fantasy XIV, Anthem has foundational problems. Like the foundation of that game is bad, and I have been vocally harsh about the game. I think Anthem does nothing right in any facet of that game. But you can see little glimmers of things where it's like, man, if you would just do some of this stuff better, if you do some of this stuff over here just a little better, if you'd reinvent some of this stuff, it'd be a really great game. And I hope that they can take the time. EA and BioWare would definitely have the budget to put towards it, but I hope that they can get the time to really make the foundation of that game really solid, and then kind of get it to a good place with, let's say, 2.0, and then kind of go forward from there. Fingers crossed, and good luck to them, because that it sounds like that job sucks.
Yeah.
Like just like burning this thing to the ground and starting back over. It just doesn't sound fun.
I'm sitting here trying to think about like if they come out with this thing, they're like, hey, give us $20 more. I'm immediately out. I don't want to give this game more money.
Yeah. I bought the Legion of Dawn edition for the first one because I was pretty excited for it, and just like there has to be some level of, you know.
I bought 2 collector's editions of Final Fantasy XIV, the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be some.
Bad that felt so bad.
Yeah, there has to be some honoring of something there, whatever it is. But yeah, I agree. I don't know. Good luck to them at the very least, because that's rough.
I'd like to see BioWare make a comeback. So
yes, yeah,
me too. But I would not. You couldn't peel money out of my hands until I see the final product. Unfortunately,
yeah, 100%,
pretty much. I'm honestly that way with anything they produce. Honestly, now.
I've became that way for a lot of companies after 14. That was the thing that killed my ability to pre-order, like, from a lot of companies. The only one that I do blindly, pre-order now is just Atlas, and honestly, if you make Rune Factory or Harvest Moon, like I'm there day one. But like any other company, I don't care if I've loved your IP, I have to see. I need that product to be out. I need to be able to watch, a quick little like let's play or something. I don't trust reviews anymore either.
Yeah,
I have to see it, and then I will go out and spend money for the game. I'm that stubborn.
Yeah.
Well, and so many reviews nowadays are terrible at discussing the actual mechanics of the game. They're bad about conveying. That's the whole reason why
I can't stand it.
They just want to give you kind of this, like, they're all aspiring writers, so like I get it. They want to use it as an art form, but they need to communicate mechanical things about the experience in it,
Mm.
Which is why I talk so much about Rune Factory 4, was because there's a lot to tell you, and the reviews for it, I do not like the reviews because they're kind of bland. They're like, it's Harvest Moon with combat, and I'm like, boy, you are killing me. You are killing me. You are not telling people how great this game is.
Yeah. Last news story here this month. If you purchase Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox One, you will get the Xbox Series X upgrade for free. Microsoft recently announced the Smart Delivery system for the Xbox Series X. It's basically, hey, publishers, and Microsoft has committed to doing it for all their first-party games. If it comes out on Xbox One X, or especially for Xbox One X, you can deliver. Their whole thing is, if you own it on one of the previous Xboxes, you can download it and play it on the Series X. Smart Delivery is going to be, hey, we're going to take this game and we're going to make it look and run better on the Series X. So I know there's a lot of people that are sort of saying like, boy, Cyberpunk 2077 looks really great, but like a month later, the Series X comes out. So why would I buy it now if they're going to sell me another $60 copy? And CD Projekt Red came out and said, we're not doing that. Like, we'll give you a free patch or however they deliver it. Just fire that up on your Series X, and then it'll get all whatever the improvements are going to be.
I would really like most companies to do that, but just something that, so I don't know that the audience knows, but I've been working with a group of local devs on a game, and it's not going to set the world on fire or anything, but we're pretty proud of it. But point being, we have Xbox dev kits, and we don't have an Xbox Series X dev kit, but our understanding is once we finish designing and get our submittal approved through Xbox, that the game will work on Series X too. So Microsoft has, granted, I'm sure CD Projekt Red is going to take a lot of extra steps to really utilize the power of the Series X.
Right.
But I think Microsoft has also taken a lot of steps to make the transition between the platforms a lot easier than maybe other generations have.
Yeah, they have said that they'll be supporting the other 3 generations. So Xbox One, 360, and original Xbox. When you fire up your Series X, it sort of sounds like if you can download it now to your Xbox One X, you can get it on your Series X, and it will just kind of work. Awesome. So, and I think these are some interesting hand-in-hand things where it's like backwards compatibility is really important for Microsoft, especially on the digital front, and then using smart delivery to kind of say, hey, you loved this game on your, let's give Sea of Thieves as an example, because that's still a game that's really great, that's exclusive to Xbox One. Fire it up on your Series X. They haven't announced it, but you might expect that here's a smart delivery update, and it's now 4K 60 frames. You know, maybe not hugely different, but enough of a boost to kind of say, here's this game I loved playing, and now it's even better on this next console. I'm very interested / worried to see how that's going to work for some of my live service games that I play. I play Fortnite every once in a while. That's probably not going to be affected. Like, yeah, of course it'll work on the next console, sure. But you look at something like Warframe, you look at something like Destiny 2, those are games where it's sort of like, you'll probably get there, but how soon? Like, when are you going to get there? And that will be really interesting come this fall, because I will be purchasing both consoles because I have a problem. Bless you.
Thank you.
And I apparently don't like hanging on to money. So we'll see. But that's all of our news stories this month, and that's our episode for this month. Thank you very much for listening. PickingUpThePixels.com. Everywhere to find and follow us on the right-hand side of the page. Musim, where can we find you online?
You can find the Nexus for all my audio endeavors at jbaudio.net. It'll have links to, my Spotify pages and all that other stuff. And
Mina, how about you?
You can find me on twitch.tv at MinaCoRocket or YouTube at the same following MinaCoRocket. And Boston?
You can find me at e1m1.com, patreon.com/e1m1. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Our adventure continues next month.